And now, this is a Fox Fastcast with Chief Meteorologist Andy McCray.
We had some scattered showers around the area today, and that cooled our temperatures down for a little while back into the 50s, but we've been pretty steady for the temperatures lately, right around 56 degrees in the Quad Cities right now. 54 in Muscatine, 55 in Tipton, and what's left of the rain rapidly falling apart over the last several hours, and we've even had a good amount of clearing in the Quad Cities. All of our showers come to an end tonight in the next few hours, and we will work to clear things out even more on Friday. Sunshine and a warm-up in the weekend forecast. Some good news coming up in just a little bit on Fox 18 News at 9.
Looking back at the life of Prince, how he's being remembered in the Quad Cities.
And why some Illinois cities owe the state money.
Live from the Local 4 News Studios, this is Fox 18 News at 9 in high definition.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Needleman.
And I'm Tiffany Lundberg. Thanks for joining us for Fox 18 News at 9. First on Fox tonight, Prince, the innovative musician who became one of the most iconic artists of his generation, has died. His career spanned almost 40 years and ended this morning when he was found unresponsive at home in Minnesota. Fans around the world have been paying tribute since the news of his death broke. Mary Maloney reports how much he influenced the music world.
Prince was a legend. Pioneering the Minneapolis sound, Prince sold more than 100 million records worldwide, making him one of the best-selling artists of all time.
I wanted my music, as even now, to speak loudest for me.
He touched all forms of the entertainment business, winning 7 Grammys, a Golden Globe, and an Academy Award. Not surprising, Prince was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame the first year he was eligible. Prince wasn't just an artist, he influenced and mentored other musicians, cranking out hits for the Bangles
It's just another manic Monday.
and Sinead O'Connor. Nothing and no one compares to Prince. After hearing about his death, fans flocked to his estate, some with tears in their eyes.
I heard the news and it's devastating.
I just couldn't believe it. I didn't believe it. He was just here Saturday. He was just here Saturday.
The legendary Apollo Theater changing its marquee. His hometown baseball stadium, the Minnesota Twins, tweeting this picture saying, "Fitting that it's raining in Minneapolis." Celebrities like the band Duran Duran, Samuel L. Jackson, and Whoopi Goldberg tweeting condolences. But many say they won't mourn. Instead, they plan to pay tribute to the rock star in the way they think he would prefer, celebrating his life through his timeless music.
Don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry.
I'm Mary Maloney.
Prince once performed at the arena we now call the IWireless Center. His death has fans in the Quad Cities clamoring to get any type of Prince memorabilia.
Fox 18's Alice Kane joins us live from our newsroom with more on that story. Alice.
Tiffany and Jim, Sonny McCollum, the owner of Coop Records in Davenport, says just minutes after learning about Prince's death, their phones are ringing off the hook. Fans say Prince has made a big impact on the music community across the country. McCollum says the news of his death is shocking and devastating. She says he was one of the greatest musicians of all time. Today, Coop Records was sold out of Prince CDs at both their Davenport and Moline locations.
It's kind of that reminder when you hear that somebody dies, it's a big reminder like, oh my gosh. And then you think about the things that maybe you missed out while they were alive. So you just want to make sure that you can kind of grab a piece of it now that you've been reminded of his talent.
McCollum says she's already contacted her distributor to get more Prince albums. Authorities are still investigating his death. Alice Kang, Fox 18 News.
Alice, thank you. It won't be too long before you can't go to the IWireless Center anymore. The building is staying, but it's getting a new name. IWireless announced it will stop sponsoring the arena in Moline. That ends more than a 10-year partnership. The current deal expires in July of 2017.
They got to grow their brand in the region and nationally by putting on the building, gave them great exposure. And now it's to a point now where people know who they are and they're going to, put their money elsewhere.
IWireless acquired the naming rights in 2005 and changed the name from the Mark of the Quad Cities. There's no indication if any other companies expressed interest in taking over the name of the building.
Kmart announced it's closing its store in Rock Island. The store located on 46th Avenue will close on July 31st. Until then, the store will remain open for business. One Rock Island alderman says closing the store is part of a company-wide downsizing. At this time, we don't know how many employees will be affected. A liquidation sale in that store will begin on May 12th. Testimony continued today in the trial of Alexander Kozak. The 22-year-old is charged with first-degree murder for shooting a woman at the Coral Ridge Mall last summer. A psychiatrist who specializes in forensics testified on behalf of the defense. He said he's looked over Kozak's case and believes he has two separate personality disorders. Now, according to the doctor, one of those disorders causes Kozak to react to small incidents with extreme rage.
Illinois' Department of Revenue says it doled out too much money to local governments the last 2 years. That's more than $100 million. Now the state wants it back from cities, counties, and school districts around the Quad Cities area. Fox 18's Greta Patrick reports what local leaders think about the state's mistake.
According to a press release, the state of Illinois found out there was a problem after updating their system. They found they had overpaid $168 million in personal property replacement tax. Those are taxes the state collects from local sources, then pays back to local governments. The Department of Revenue says they've been overpaying for 2 years. Rock Island Mayor Dennis Pauley just found out Tuesday.
The state says we owe them $333,000. So we're going back through our records, we're checking everything out.
Pauley says he hopes the state will give the city plenty of time to pay it back.
So now they come out and say, we made a big mistake paying you money, you have to pay us back. Okay, prove it. Let's take a look at it, and at the same time, why don't you resolve the budget? Get the budget taken care of so we can move forward.
The Department of Revenue's Director Connie Beard said in a statement, "We will be working with the impacted taxing districts to establish a plan to recapture the funds over an extended period of time." The state says East Moline owes $168,000.
They've been slow in giving us the money that they were supposed to. You add on top of that the money that they owe me for water and sewer usage. Any way you look at it, they owe the city of East Moline money still.
The city supplies water and sewer to the East Moline Correctional Center, and Thotis says the state stopped paying for that in August. He says the state owes East Moline $500,000.
That's fine. You claim that you've overpaid. We can deduct that from the amount of money you still owe us then.
The Department of Revenue lists 6,500 taxing districts that owe money to the state. Greta Patrick, Fox 18 News.
Illinois' Future Caucus, which includes younger lawmakers, discussed legislation that deals with issues facing their generation. The bipartisan group's goal is to pass 4 bills this session. Those bills include things like rules regarding craft distilleries and the creation of an advisory council for at-risk youth.
Just to say that the next generation of leadership in the state views things differently, that we don't think that partisanship is productive, that we don't think that divisiveness is getting us anywhere.
There are over a dozen other states that have similar caucuses.
Hundreds of people showed up a day early to celebrate Earth Day at the Illinois Capitol. Activists from all over the state showed their support specifically for the Illinois Clean Jobs Bill. The bipartisan legislation would require that renewable sources generate 35% of the energy used in the state by 2030.
Today, the first honor flight of the year took off from the Quad City International Airport. The program takes veterans and their guardians to see monuments in Washington, D.C. dedicated to their service. It includes stops at the World War II and Korean War Memorial. One of the Vietnam veterans on today's trip said he enjoyed talking about service with his fellow veterans.
I have run into a few fellows like that, and it's a wonderful feeling to be able to share stories with them about what he did, what you did. It's great.
There will be another honor flight in May. Today's honor flight, however, is expected to land back at the Quad City International Airport tonight at 10. Members of the public are encouraged to welcome those veterans home.
Still to come, some Illinois lawmakers address student censorship, what steps they're taking that could protect young journalists, how much cover it would provide.
And what you can expect from the new Huntsman movie. You're watching Fox 18 News at 9.
Fox 18 is first at 9 with Jim Needleman, Tiffany Lundberg, meteorologist Andy McRae, and sports with Jay Kidwell. You're watching Fox 18 News at 9 in high definition.